2019 was a monumental year for hip-hop. Kanye West's Jesus is King sold so well that he became the first rap gospel artist to literally go silver. Following his sudden arrest, 6ix9ine pled guilty to several racketeering charges and announced that he'd be cooperating with the feds, appearing in court looking like the godfather of some kind of Sharpie racket. Y&W Melly went from smoking bud with his best buds to smoking his best buds, after catching the murder rap for the death of 2 of his childhood friends. If Y&W Melly doesn't beat this case, he could be losing his freedom, his life, and most likely his best friend of the year mug. Lil Nas X rode his horse all the way to the top of the charts, breaking world records for the longest run ever on the Billboard charts, being the first ever entry on the Rolling Stone's newly launched Top 100 chart, and having the biggest impact on the patented Trap Law Rost Cringeworthiest Rappers chart. I personally gave it, out of 10. And following the damning allegations in the Surviving R. Kelly documentary, for the first time ever the hip-hop community was finally ready to acknowledge R. Kelly's crimes and admit that for the last 30 years, he'd truly been putting the P in pedo. But if 2019 was about anything, it was about comebacks. And what better place to start than the man that claimed to have the biggest comeback of them all.
You know, I had the biggest comeback of 2018, period. I started the wave. I'm the reason why these new artists getting signed. I'm the reason why it's a Lil Pump. I discovered Chief Keef. I've been doing this YouTube. I was the first artist on social media.
I agree with you on that.
They laughed at me. They said I killed hip hop. And now they doing exactly what I did and shun me and I'm being shunned upon.
Yes, Soulja Boy kicked off 2019 with an explosive Breakfast Club interview where he claimed to have had the biggest comeback of 2018. That is, of course, if you don't count the comeback that 6ix9ine got from his new cellmate. In the process of claiming the crown of 2018, Soulja Boy made some pretty bold claims, including that he invented the internet.
I started this internet.
But the truly juicy viral moment came when he dragged his fellow comeback contenders, Tyga and Drake, spawning one of the most iconic catchphrases of 2019.
Tyga had a record. Tyga?
Tyga? Okay.
Tyga? Drake? Drake? The nigga that got bodied by Pusha T? The nigga that hiding his kid from the world, but his world wouldn't hide from the kid?
Big Draco truly came with a fire on that Breakfast Club interview, and over the course of that hour, turned his giant L of a career into a massive W, reminding everybody just why we fell in love with him back in 2008. And he was looking fresh, rocking his Gucci headband and all beige everything swag, looking like a typical British meal. He also took the opportunity to defend himself against claims of being a Soulja fraud after his bizarre Soulja game launch.
I got my new video game, you know what I'm saying?
They say that shit counterfeit as fuck too now.
They always hate on the black entrepreneur. I thought it would only sell like 500 copies, 200 copies, not a lot. We got like a fucking 1,000, 10, 20,000 orders, and it got backed up. You know what I'm saying? I didn't expect it to sell that much.
So
you know what I'm saying?
back order.
So we got backed up. But
So
your product is on the way.
But as we all know, he was beaten out in the gangster gaming wars by 6ix9ine's Nintendo snitch.
My favorite hip hop moment of 2019. It's simple. Soulja Boy. More specifically, everything that he was doing at the start of the year. It might not have been the most groundbreaking or most revolutionary moment for hip hop, but what it was super entertaining. That time when Soulja Boy was rocking the Gucci headband, that was a great time for hip hop. Tyga, Drake, Ariana Grande, no one was safe from being called out by Big Soulja. Whether it was because he felt like they were stealing his flow, or because they supposedly didn't have as good a comeback in the previous year as him. It was just fun and resulted in so many great moments, not least of all, his iconic Breakfast Club interview. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you feel about this whole situation, Soulja has been laying low for the second half of the year, pretty much the rest of 2019, but I will always remember that time when he was just snapping on everyone for the most simple reasons.
Soulja Boy's Breakfast Club interview was a viral moment, not just for being hilarious, but its incredible virality would prove that it only takes a magic moment like this to spark a genuine career comeback. And from here, this actually led to a true Soulja resurgence, fueled even further by him releasing some of the genuinely best music that he's released in nearly a decade, including Hit My Line, Cut That Check, and New Drip. And before you knew it, he was traveling all over the country, playing packed shows in San Diego. He pulled up in his hometown of LA, presumably checking in with his Bompton Bloods before branking that Soulja Boy at the LA Blippers halftime show. He even took his comeback tour to Las Vegas, which he documented on his YouTube channel, in a video where you can see a gigantic ass next to a woman twerking. And with all this new money coming in, Soulja Boy was truly splurging, copping a rare new McLaren which has the hidden third seat and blunt control.
Dude, I fired the blunt, just lay right here, let my nigga drive this motherfucker.
You hear me?
And spending such a crazy amount of money in Fendi that he got too excited and for a moment forgot he was scared of paper.
Today we spend $6,000 in the Fendi store. Excuse me.
But unfortunately, Big Draco's run on top would tragically be cut short in April, when he got sentenced to 240 days in jail for violating his probation after getting caught with ammunition being a violation of a weapons case dating all the way back to 2014. In addition to that, he'd also been caught out falsifying evidence that he had completed court-ordered community service.
So, Mr. Wade, I'm going to reinstate your probation with the following modifications. You are to serve 240 days in the county jail with credit 20 actual plus 20 good time work times, so that total of 40 days of credit.
Thought you were slick, didn't you, young Draco? Hey, no wonder he's scared of paper. But also, in less light-hearted news, January also saw the airing of the harrowing documentary Surviving R. Kelly, a sensational 6-part drama documenting R. Kelly's love for the underage Poontang. It documented some of his own experiences receiving abuse as a child, his monumental rise to fame, and then how he eventually exploited that fame to prey on impressionable, young and underage women who he would tempt to dominate physically, mentally, and emotionally. It featured moving testimony from victims, people close to the victims, and people in R. Kelly's life who had enabled him at the time, but later had a change of heart and wanted to tell their truth. The emotional and hard-hitting documentary added fuel to the Mute R. Kelly campaign, leading his record label to eventually drop him. In response to the show, R. Kelly initially attempted to move into damage control, downplaying the allegations and continuing to appear in public. He popped up at his own 52nd birthday party in Chicago's V75 nightclub, which I assume is the only nightclub in Chicago that has to hand out ponchos at the door.
Baby, I don't wanna hurt nobody,
Yes, you do.
but there is something that I must confess.
Go on then, this should be good. Some critics of the documentary suggested that perhaps it had maybe gone a little bit far in sensationalizing some of these accounts for entertainment and ultimately money. But it is a TV show after all. And some of these critics did have a point. I mean, no matter how slickly edited your mob justice is, the legal system should always take precedence. And whilst for a moment, delusional R. Kelly supporters did have that to cling on, it didn't take long for reality to set in, and he was eventually arrested and charged with 10 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse. This was in February after a new child sex tape had emerged. Somehow, he managed to get his broke ass on $1 million bond and pled not guilty to all charges. And then after a couple of months of freedom and very erratic behaviour, including an explosive CBS This Morning interview, reaching breaking point when R. Kelly realised that in addition to sleeping with underage girls, it was also illegal to hook up with your own children.
I'm trying to have a relationship with my kids, and I can't do it.
And from there, things went bad to worse. In May, catching 11 more criminal charges, and in July, getting indicted on 18 charges. He was catching more charges than you can count, which is insult to injury considering the fact that R. Kelly can't count. Hey, maybe in jail, him and Kodak Black can get their biff and chip on together. The charges included child sexual exploitation, child pornography production, kidnapping, racketeering, obstruction of justice, and even forced labor. Damn, you mean to tell me that child labor went into my officially licensed $3.99 R. Kelly Fiesta commemorative thong? Man, next you're gonna tell me that chocolate factory from his album was the one that collapsed in Bangladesh. You've gone too far this time, Kelly. At this point, he was duly denied bail, pled not guilty, and has been sitting around for the majority of 2019 awaiting his trial. It's hard to have sympathy for a guy that allegedly kept women locked up against their will, complaining about having to be in jail. He should enjoy it, because being in jail isn't really that different from being trapped in that closet. He also came out to complain that he can't read his fan mail because of his illiteracy. Oh, it's cute. He still thinks that that's fan mail. And of course, the final nail in the coffin for any shred of sympathy for R. Kelly came in the form of him complaining that he wasn't allowed to have both of his girlfriends visit for a conjugal three-way. Shit, if you gave me 2 girlfriends, I would go to jail right now. Hell, I'd go to jail for 1 girlfriend. Shit, considering how disastrous my love life has been in 2019, I would probably do Tay K numbers just for a hand shandy and a kiss on the forehead. Man, I need to work on my negotiating skills in 2020.
Just today, the famed fashion house Gucci is apologizing for selling this sweater that appears to mimic blackface. Twitter exploded. What the hell were they thinking? Went one post. Gucci announced today that the sweater is being yanked from the marketplace. Gucci deeply apologizes for the offense caused.
In February, we went from Gucci headbands to Gucci Gettin' Band, after they revealed a black turtleneck that featured a half balaclava with a red lip outline that looked suspiciously like blackface. Look, even if you don't think this thing is racist, it's still offensive just as a shitty piece of fashion. It's like somebody at Gucci was sitting around saying, you know what this year's look needs to be? Steve Jobs with a herpes outbreak. Now at this point, T.I. and other celebrities called for a boycott of Gucci.
The only reason Gucci had it because we made that shit hot. If we stop wearing that shit today, that shit tank, period.
Charlemagne even gave them Donkey of the Day.
Yes, Donkey of the Day for Monday, February 11th goes to Gucci, Prada, Moncler, and whatever other fashion brand decided that blackface would be the fashion trend for this season.
Yeah, that's why I don't wear Gucci too, because they're racist. It's got nothing to do with me being absolutely broke. Yes, in fact, even though I'm definitely super rich off of YouTube, the only reason that I wear tattered rags from Goodwill is because apparently they're mad, not racist. In response, Big Draco himself, Soulja Boy, even retired his Gucci headband and said that he was so upset with Gucci that he was getting the goddamn Gucci tattoo that he's got on his forehead removed.
I love Gucci, man. I got a Gucci tattoo in the middle of my forehead.
Are you gonna get that removed?
I've started the process. I gotta go back 2 more times.
But other people decided not to participate in the boycott. Young Thug decided to wear the damn thing, and Kodak Black decided to ride with Gucci, sowing the seeds for a later beef with T.I.
I got a few more Gucci little clothes that I bought, and I'm gonna wear it.
Now, it's not completely surprising that Floyd Mayweather also didn't get the memo about the Gucci boycott, considering the fact that he wouldn't have been able to read it. And not long after the boycott, he was actually spotted going into Gucci, dropping some bans and some hilariously misguided comments.
See, the thing is this. I live for myself. Right. I live for myself. I do what I want to do when I want to and how I want to. I'm not a follower. You know, when everybody else, they say, everybody gonna boycott. I said, guess what? Well, this boy gonna get on a yacht.
But to be fair to Floyd, he only walked in the Gucci store because he thought it was the Coogie store.
Now at 5:37, 2 men are in jail this morning, including an up-and-coming Florida rapper. Both men are charged in a double murder. Police are saying the two staged a crime scene to make it look like a drive-by shooting.
Now, 2018 saw the meteoric rise of unstable, gun-toting madman YNW Melly. After an impressive run of releasing hit song after hit song, including Blue Balenciagas, Melly the Menace, Slang That Iron, and of course my personal favourite, For Real, I'm so for real. Sorry, I've been doing that all year. Off the back of these hits, he'd landed some of the best opportunities the rap game has to offer. And thankfully, his connections with music video director Drew Filmed It ensured that all of his videos were indeed filmed correctly.
If Drew didn't film it, then it ain't filmed right.
Eventually, landing the holy grail of mental health problem collaborations, the track Split Personalities with Kanye West that debuted with a Cole Bennett directed video releasing on Lyrical Lemonade. Wait a minute, Drew didn't film this, it can't possibly have been filmed right! Now, during Melly's incredibly fast come up, he was rarely pictured without his other YNW cronies, YNW Bortlin, YNW Juvie, and YNW Sack Chaser. Fuck's sake, Melly, why couldn't you have just taken YNW Bortlin and Juvie and spared us Sack Chaser just off the back of having one of the most hilarious and inspired hip-hop names since ASAP Ball Waxer? Now, the YNW boys had been best friends since childhood and all appeared extensively in YNW Melly's Melly documentary.
Small thinkers where I'm from. To them in Gifford, to be successful is just a job, a house, and probably Vero somewhere, our little somewhere, like an out-of-town house.
They love us and hate us. Like, they happy to see us. They happy to see us when they see us. You know what I'm talking about?
Me and all my niggas, we had the same dream growing up.
But unfortunately, shortly before that documentary was released, tragedy struck. YNW Juvie and YNW Sack Chaser were killed in a drive-by shooting. Well, at least that's what the end of the documentary said, but by February, investigators were taking a closer look at the circumstances surrounding those deaths, leading YNW Melly to turn himself in. Authorities brought murder charges against YNW Melly and YNW Bortling, suggesting that the ballistics evidence said that their story about being targeted in a drive-by didn't hold up. Now, they told the cops that they'd left a recording studio, and whilst they were driving, another vehicle pulled up next to them and opened fire. But later, after taking officers back to the block where this supposedly happened, they couldn't find any evidence or reports of a shooting having taken place.
They shut down the block. Between 160th and 172, not a single report of gunshots was reported, and no evidence of a shooting was found.
And to make matters worse, the alibi that Melly had left the recording studio in a different car to the other 3 boys didn't hold up, because security footage from the studio showed Melly getting in the Jeep with the 3 other guys, that same Jeep that turned up to the hospital later with 2 dead bodies, sans Melly. GPS data not only corroborated this, but also suggested that Melly was in that car up until around 3 minutes before it turned up to the hospital, and that vehicle had taken a completely different route to what their statement said. A month later, the cops used GPS records and a K9 unit to find the spot where the shooting had actually taken place. Here, glass from that same car that was brought into the hospital, along with 8 shell casings, were found, and those shell casings matched another shell casing that was found in that car. And as if that wasn't enough to make the prosecutors have a raging hard-on, apparently the autopsy on Y&W sack chaser proved that his wounds came from close up, likely within the vehicle. Specifically, the rear left seat, exactly where CCTV footage showed that Y&W Melly was sitting when he left the studio. This story was frankly sensational, and it was no surprise then that Melly's 2017 hit Murder on My Mind, where he vividly recounts the killing of a friend, went completely viral. Now at this stage, the case is still unresolved, and it's unclear whether or not Melly will beat these charges. Him and Y&W Bortland both pled not guilty. Many people have speculated that he's completely fucked considering the amount of evidence against him, and at this stage basically no story seems to have come out from the defense's side. But hey, maybe there's a good excuse, you know, he might have slipped, fell and let off his dicks. Now, Melly wasn't the only rapper in trouble with the cops in February.
A Grammy-nominated Atlanta-based rapper called 21 Savage has been arrested by US immigration officials who say he has been living illegally in the country.
Yes, British rap fans were truly rejoicing when American immigration authorities revealed that Atlanta knife throb 21 Savage was really Sir 21, the Duke of Savageshire, a bona fide Brit. Now, to some people, this came as a surprise, but many of us had seen the signs early on.
I would probably wear this jacket on my way to have tea and crumpets on a beautiful Monday morning.
He was actually detained for 9 whole days before eventually receiving legal help from Jay-Z, being released and popping up on ABC News to tell his story. Some people get locked up and find God, others find glasses.
I was just driving and I just seen guns and blue lights. And then I was in the back of a car and I was gone.
They tell you you're under arrest?
Nah, they didn't say nothing. They just said, "We got Savage."
They said, "We got Savage."
Yeah.
What up guys, your boy Quake from DiverseMentality, and easily the craziest thing and the most interesting thing to happen to hip hop in 2019 was when we found out that 21 Savage is not originally from Atlanta, when he got detained by ICE at an award show, which has like never happened ever, I think, an artist getting detained at an award show like that. And then finding out he's from Britain, East London specifically, was just something that was so left field that if you asked me in the beginning of 2019 what would be the craziest thing, that would be the last thing I would guess. This guy is the most gangster rapper in the last 5 years, so to find that out was insane, and the memes were just super funny. Everything was funny online, so it was just a crazy moment. Shout out to Trap Lord Ross, you're killing it, man.
In 2019, it actually emerged that streaming now accounts for 75% of music industry revenues. I assume the other 25% is accounted for by sales of Lil Uzi Vert's jarred fart gas. Sorry, I meant to say release of Eternal a Take. Uzi had spent a lot of 2018 and most of 2019 moaning about the terrible record deal that he'd supposedly signed with DJ Drama and Don Cannon. A record deal that was so monumentally bad that in just a short space of a few years, he went from being a humble nobody on SoundCloud to a Grammy-nominated millionaire with a 7-figure fleet of luxury cars. Oh, the humanity! I actually did an entire video breaking down the whole story of Lil Uzi Vert's deal, so just go and check that out if you want to know more. In other news, Dr. Dre got thoroughly clowned after bigging up his daughter for being self-made and getting into the University of Southern California all by herself. Turned out that he'd actually donated $70 million to the school, at which point he quickly deleted that post. I guess giving a university $70 million just to secure the naming rights for the Chronic Gymnasium is the only surefire way to make sure that nobody forgets about Dre. And in March, we also saw the biggest takeover by one of Nas's Lil X's since Khalees bought her stinky box of milkshakes to the yard. In 2018, Lil Nas X accidentally created what in a flash of an eye in 2019 would end up being probably the most monumental song of all time. Lil Nas X bought the beat for Old Town Road from a producer named Young Keo for a measly $30. He recorded Old Town Road at a humble $20 an hour studio in Atlanta in less than an hour before releasing it in December of 2018. Now the track didn't do that much at first, but eventually picked up steam after getting attention on this decade's most revolutionary platform for grooming, TikTok. And TikTok's army of 14-year-old kiddie cam girls, creators, saw the emergence of the Yeehaw Challenge, a running meme on TikTok where people would show themselves transitioning into cowboys, cow women, and since it's 2019, cow people, all set to the sound of Lil Nas X's Old Town Road. Nas X said that he'd made over 100 memes of the song himself. Oh, poor Lil Nas X, does he know how many times we got subjected to this fucking song in 2019? But anyway, the TikTok effect eventually gave the song such a boost that it ended up hitting the Billboard charts in March. triggering Nas X landing a 7-figure deal with Columbia Records to distribute the single after what was described as an intense bidding war. That's crazy. I mean, to me, an intense bidding war is still just staying up till 4 AM on eBay, trying to get a last-minute 94-cent bid in on some used woo-wear. However, the racist old codgers at Billboard said that the song should be disqualified from being number 19 on the Hot Country Tracks chart because apparently it didn't fit the genre. I mean, come on, the shit's about riding a horse down the Old Town Road. What more do you want? This sparked a huge debate about the definition of what country music truly was, and the possible racism of the genre and the Billboard charts themselves. A debate which definitely wasn't stimulated by Columbia Records to generate attention for the song. Well, off the back of that completely organic discussion, the racist old codgers at Billboard ended up eating their words as the song got a remix from Billy Ray Cyrus, country pop legend and father to the winner of the 2018 Stinky Saddle Award, Miley Cyrus. The speed at which this record label-assisted slam dunk took Nas X to the top stirred up a vast amount of speculation that young Nas was just some sort of industry plant, a term which is reserved for artists that seem to explode suspiciously quick, not off the back of their own merits or buzz with fans, but record label shilling, backroom deals, and paid advertising. And the revelation that he'd been running a bunch of meme pages and Nicki Minaj stan accounts before his success in music didn't really help his case. And so the record label continued shilling the shit out of Lil Nas X, putting out remix after goddamn remix. There was the Billy Ray Cyrus remix, the Diplo remix, the Young Thug remix, the Say Old Town remix featuring RM of BTS. Because you know what a trap country song definitely didn't need? K-pop!
Thousands of fans of Grammy-nominated rapper and community activist Nipsey Hussle are in a state of shock today. They are mourning the hip-hop star's ultimately and violent death. Nipsey Hussle was murdered in broad daylight outside a clothing store that he owned in South Los Angeles, and he was killed just before he was about to meet with city leaders and the LAPD about reducing gang violence.
April started with a depressing story that's become far too familiar in hip-hop. The news of Nipsey Hussle's tragic murder permeated throughout the hip-hop community, leaving fans and artists completely devastated. His passing was particularly impactful considering the fact that he was taken from us at the height of his career, fresh off of the back of releasing an incredible Grammy-nominated album Victory Lap, and just as he was beginning to seemingly make huge progress by investing in his community and taking steps to try and reduce gang violence in his city. Before long, people were lining up to press F and pay their respects to the fallen legend.
I just want to send prayers out to Nipsey Hussle and his family, to Lauren London and her family. This is fucked up, man. This is fucked up.
It's a fucked up world. Good person too, man. Real good peoples.
Over here driving down Slauson, man. Driving down Slauson 4 in the morning, man. Cause I can't sleep behind what happened to Nip, man. Why niggas do the homie like that, man? At his own motherfucking stop. In his own fucking hood, man. Just try to do good for niggas, man. Shit crazy, man. I can't even fucking sleep, man. I'm disgusted by this shit.
But then again, do you know what isn't a respectful way to respond to the death of a rap legend?
My nigga, Lauren London, that baby though. She finna be out here single. She finna be a whole widow out here. I'd be the best man I could be, fuck. I'd give her a whole year. She might need a whole year to be crying and shit. To for though. I ain't trying to shoot at her. I'm saying this. Look. No, she could do 2-3 years, but I just try to be that. I try to be like, if you need a friend to holler at us, so to me, you can call my line.
Yeah, hot off the heels of letting the entire culture down by riding with Gucci in the midst of the blackface scandal, following the tragic passing of Nipsey Hussle, Kodak Black continued his 2019 decline, seemingly suggesting that he would slide in on Nipsey Hussle's widow, Lauren London. Oh, to be fair, he said that he'd give her a year to get over it. How gentlemanly of you. Well, after all, we all know how Kodak likes to treat the ladies, don't we? Naturally, friends of Nipsey, friends of Lauren, or just anybody with a common sense of decency, knew that this wasn't okay.
This shit go for Kodak Black and any other nigga disrespecting my nigga Nip name. His legacy, his family, nigga. Keep my nigga name out your fucking mouth, nigga. Keep his girl's name out your fucking mouth, nigga. The fuck wrong with you new niggas?
But the person who seemed to take the most offense was Atlanta legend and easiest question on the hip-hop cryptic crossword puzzle, T.I.
Kodak Black, you out of pocket, nigga. Fix that shit. Quickly. Expeditiously, nigga. You out of pocket, nigga. Ain't nobody else gonna say it, nigga. I done said it to you, nigga, and if I see you, I'm gonna say it in your face, nigga. You out of pocket, nigga.
Now, after all of the backlash, Kodak quickly apologised, but not apologised, for disrespecting Nipsey before going on to basically diss anybody that had been checking him. And you could tell that this was a heartfelt apology because he also, for some reason, decided to say something about how viral his farts are.
If I disrespected you, knowing under, in any shape or form, I'm sorry. Even though I didn't. And rest in peace to dude. But for all you other people like trying to fake act like y'all love boying me on the internet or checking me on the internet, that's how you feel, bro. I can fart. Oh, Kodak farted.
Ah, Kodak Black. Kodak Black. But apparently T.I. didn't let this drama ruin his vacation, quickly clapping back at Kodak fans on Instagram Live.
I did what I did and I said what I said and I done moved the fuck on, nigga. And I suggest y'all do the motherfucking same.
Before seemingly realising that he was in way over his head and quickly trying to get out of the beef by pretending to be a motorcycle.
Check him out.
So after that Ducati eye maneuver didn't work, T.I. fired more shots by removing Kodak Black's exhibit from the Atlanta Trap Museum. But apparently Kodak wasn't bothered, saying fuck that museum, presumably after looking up what a museum was.
Let's beat that boy shot it up, man. Fuck all that other shit. Fuck that pussy ass museum. Bitch, I ain't get y'all permission to put me up there anyway, bitch.
Then at this point, T.I. previewed a Kodak Black diss track, which in my opinion was the moment that this devolved into him genuinely sticking up for Nipsey's widow and just plain clout chasing. Not to mention also having a pop at Kodak's IQ at the airport.
That's all his brain capacity can come up with. Right. You know what I'm saying? I urge him, man, you know what I'm saying, to, you know, go educate himself, enlighten himself, man, you know what I'm saying? Because if he knew better, he'd do better.
I mean, it's a bit rich coming from a guy whose rap name is literally only 2 letters, but anyway. Then the beef reached a sudden crescendo point when Kodak dropped the diss song Expeditiously, a play on T.I.'s earlier line that he needs to fix the problems of what he said expeditiously. It came with a music video that featured gratuitous shots of Kodak brushing his chains. Make sure you get those hard to reach diamonds at the back, Kodak, eh? And in the track, he made some pretty general sneak disses all about T.I. being a snitch, suggesting that Tip didn't even know Nipsey, and also dissing his wife Tiny. It was an average diss song, but a big portion of disrespect, considering the fact that Kodak Black was completely in the wrong in this situation. T.I. had a pretty muted reaction to Expeditiously, saying that if he really had a problem, he'd pull up and not make a song.
I don't make songs, I pull up.
Oh, that's funny, because it really looked like you'd made a song a couple of days ago, but okay. And let's be honest, T.I. was kind of already in the wrong for even pursuing this beef, after the fact that Kodak had pretty much apologised to Lauren London early on. To be honest, this whole thing just wasn't really a very good look for T.I. He's supposed to be this reformed figure of good behaviour in hip-hop, but the whole thing just came across pretty undignified, petty and childish. He probably should have just left Kodak to make a fool of himself. I mean, no one was riding with Kodak, because ironically, the way he was describing Kodak in this beef almost described himself.
All you had to say was no comment, bro. You know what I mean? All you had to say was no comment. You know what I mean? You went out your way, nigga. You went out your way. You went out your way.
Ultimately, this beef fizzled out from here and there was nothing else to say. But weirdly, all of the attention on Kodak Black and his erratic behaviour in this period unexpectedly shined a light on the UK drill scene, which was having an excellent 2019. Yes, we have drill in the UK. It's a bit like Chicago drill, except instead of guns we have shanks, instead of Bloods and Crips we have postcode gangs, and instead of lean we sip double cup Tetley codeine tea. Around the time of Kodak's Nipsey controversy, he was actually spotted dancing on Instagram Live to the UK drill song County Lines by incarcerated and previously fairly unknown drill artist Frosty. This cosign helped Frosty's track blow up internationally and brought a lot of extra attention to the UK drill scene. And other big names that were getting huge international shine around this time included a young sniper by the name of Digger D, who had dropped the song No Dyer, scoring 1 million views within just 4 days of its release in April, racking up around 15 million views on YouTube to this date, and landing at number 20 on the UK charts, a rarity for a drill song. Sadly, Digger D's run would be short-lived as he eventually ended up in jail on another charge that is yet unresolved. And this led to a truly iconic moment in the UK drill scene where a couple of fans hacked the Metropolitan Police's Twitter account and tweeted, "Free Digger D." And hackers weren't the only one loving Digger D's music. Drake showed his love for Digger while chilling with Backer Not Nice, and it was actually Drake's regular patronage of UK drill in 2019 that led to him enraging British grime legend Wiley, who managed to get some amazing free album promo by baiting Drake into responding to his culture vulture allegations.
That's some culture vulture, like, what does that even mean? I don't understand what that means. Yeah, I didn't like that. And it was Wiley that said that, you know what I'm saying? I'll just say his name because I felt like that was some goofy. But yeah, I just didn't like that.
And the final piece of UK drill news came from Russ, who followed up his January hit song Gun Lean with the Tion Wayne-assisted tribute to Trap House Thoughts Keisha and Becky. This peaked at number 7 on the UK charts, hanging around for 31 weeks and eventually going platinum. Very rare for a UK drill song. Now, I know you American viewers are probably sitting around saying I've never heard of Russ, and it's pretty likely that you're actually unable to listen to the British Russ's music, since the petty American Russ actually threatened to sue and tried to get the British Russ to change his name. Well, the British Russ didn't cave in because, you know, he's really fucking tough.
Yeah, changing my name, brother. I'll smash man up, fam. Dickhead youths, bro.
So now his music is completely blocked in America, and you probably need a VPN to even listen to it. Great way to put the brakes on any international development of your career, isn't it? But hey, I'm in favor of it because it seems to be a massive middle finger to the American Russ, who everybody seems to agree is totally whack. And it's for that reason that as my own personal FU to the American Russ, I'm officially changing the title of my channel to Trap Lord Russ.
Hi, this is Trap Lord Ross, English YouTuber in it. My favorite rap story of 2019, as it has been requested that I address. Well, there's a lot of bad stuff, obvious bad stuff, you know, like people getting arrested, killed, the Juice WRLD shit obviously is the fucking worst shit that I can think of. But, you know, in terms of positive stuff, I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say I gotta give it to DaBaby. I'm a big fan of DaBaby. I think he's a great guy. I think he represents such positivity, such talent, such charisma, such energy. You know, he's gonna be a guy that we're seeing in the game for a long ass time, as far as I'm concerned. And I just like the whole positive narrative of him and shit. And, you know, Stunner for Vegas. I'm a big fan of him too. I don't know. Why the fuck am I talking about DaBaby? I couldn't think of anything else. It doesn't feel like this is like the thing I should be talking about, but it was definitely dope to see him come out. I feel like I got to get that interview. And also Lil Nas X, just because of the gay thing.
After DaBaby's debut big label album Baby on Baby dropped in March, the foundations for a 2019 takeover were truly set. The album was frankly a banger-laced modern classic, which in my opinion was fire from start to finish. His lead single Suge slid into the bottom of the charts in April and continued its rise throughout May, bringing DaBaby to the forefront. Now, the public's interest in DaBaby were initially stimulated by his general shenanigans, including a famous incident where he goddamn killed a guy in Walmart. And if you don't know that story, you are truly tripping, because Mans did a video about it and it was the most popular thing I ever did. Go and watch that if you haven't, but hopefully you have. But it's important to acknowledge the fact that in spite of the shenanigans, DaBaby was also making genuinely amazing music, thus creating a perfect storm of talent and tomfoolery. And when he rose to the height of fame only a few months later, the shenanigans continued and only fueled the legend around him. In May, he had a couple of truly viral moments, including getting in a fight with a dog on an airplane.
Lady sitting next to me with a motherfucking stinking ass dog. Ugly ass dog. Wasn't even no pretty dog. Stinking ass, funky ass dog. The lady who put the stinking ass dog there. But why didn't you fly first class? If you're too good to have a dog next to you, why didn't you fly first class? And then they serve, if you guys keep going, we're gonna call the police. I said, matter of fact, call the motherfucking police. I'm getting off in the next city. We flying private.
And never one to give his fists of fury a rest, he famously put the Beatz on a human man for harassing him in the Louis V store. Now, annoyingly, I can't actually show you the clip of the beatdown because it probably violates multiple YouTube policies on violence. So I'll let Charlemagne give you the most expert analysis one could offer.
All right, the fat Cam Coldheart was attempting to buy a belt, and then Cam ended up on the ground with his pants around his ankles. Shows why belts are so important. You really shouldn't leave home without one.
Honestly, there's nothing more simultaneously classy and ratchet than beating someone senseless in the Louis Vuitton store. To be fair, I've only ever been beaten senseless in the Louis Vuitton store once, and that was for jerking off in the changing room. Hey, maybe if they made their marketing less sexy, I wouldn't have to do it. And for the record, I never jerk off in the Gucci store because they're racist. Also in May, a couple of significant albums dropped. Both Tyler the Creator's Igor and DJ Khaled's Father of Asahd dropped, duking it out for Billboard's #1 slot. Now, before we look at who won, let's take a look at the pros and cons of each project. Now, the pros for Father of Asahd is that it's literally got every rapper that's ever lived on it. Nipsey Hussle, check. John Legend, check. Lil Wayne, check. Quavo, Chance the Rapper, Jay-Z, Future. I mean, the track list of this thing looks like Superhead's Little Black Book. I swear at this rate, DJ Khaled's next album is just gonna have 1,000 rappers on there, each saying a word each. But of course, the major con is that on every one of those tracks, DJ Khaled is shouting his goddamn voice all over it and constantly waving his son around in the music videos like some kind of Arabic Tron.
Is that your son?
No, I just bought this baby cash.
Now, Tyler the Creator's Igor album, on the other hand, is a very camp affair. It was all funny wigs and feelings. It's a concept album with a deep narrative that supposedly portrays Tyler the Creator seeing a guy called Igor who is also seeing his ex-girlfriend in a strange love triangle. I mean, this album is rich in things other than money, and it made me feel all weird and emotional. I don't like it. I mean, it was almost as if he'd spent a lot of effort crafting a piece of art that expressed his deeply held emotions through his own highly unique form of alternate hip-hop, giving the whole project a really fresh and unique perspective. Combine this with the fact that Tyga had seemingly been trying to come out of the closet as gay or sexually ambiguous for several years, this album was actually a really significant moment in the hip-hop cultural zeitgeist. It was no surprise then that Igor landed at #1 on Billboard and DJ Khaled's Father of Asahd at #2. We the second best! Now at this point, DJ Khaled allegedly flipped his lid and stormed into the Epic Records office and threw a temper tantrum. Apparently he was pissed at the way they'd rolled out the album. This was made even worse by the fact that his attempts to finesse more album sales by bundling copies with shitty cans of pop completely failed. And to make matters worse, he then posted, then deleted, a bitter rant against Tyler's album, recorded from the backseat of his $1 million Maybach Launderette convertible. Oh, it's a hard life being #2, isn't it, Khaled?
I gotta say this too. I make albums so people can play it, and you actually hear it. You know, driving your car, you hear another car playing it. You know, go to the barbershop, you hear them playing it. You know, turn the radio on, and you hear them playing it. You know, it's playing everywhere. It's called great music. It's called albums that you actually hear the songs. Not no mysterious shit, and you never hear it. On your dome.
He seemed to inadvertently describe his own album as only being good if you heard it from a distance from a passing car, or under the sound of clippers in a barbershop. Yeah, Khaled, that's a good point, because I actually listened to your album from an iPhone that was nestled between the butt cheeks of a fat man, as your tracks played in between muffled wet farts. And I've got to say, it definitely improved the listening experience. Khaled was mad that Tyler's album was all mysterious. I mean, the audacity of a man that doesn't even rap or produce the songs on his own album, shitting on someone else that actually made a good piece of art because it's mysterious. The only thing mysterious about Khaled's album is it's a mystery what contribution he even made to the fucking thing. I mean, honestly, all of his albums might as well have been made by a Google AI that had been fed nothing but Flowrider albums for 10 years. But hey, maybe he could have got behind it if Tyler the Creator's album was just all features of other rappers, with Tyler only popping up once on each track to shout, "It's DJ Tyler! My sexuality is ambiguous, that's a major key!" June was one of the more quieter months for hip-hop in 2019. Nicki Minaj missing posters emerged, as fans wondered where she'd disappeared to over 2019. And to be fair, they had reason to be concerned. I mean, she'd been hanging out with a killer after all. One of my personal favourite albums of the year dropped from Young Thug clone Lil Keed, proving that no matter how far hip-hop evolves, there's always new noises you can make with your mouth. But there was actually one big release that everybody had been anticipating, for better or for worse. And in June, we'd finally find out if nobody's favourite cowboy could capture lightning once again.
Panini, probably the first song I made for this EP, and it was kind of like just me like in a mindset of almost you know, like a person who's gone from nothing and now they're like moving up in the world, and like they've had like these fans before they started to like really pop, and those fans don't love you as much anymore. They may like be fans or maybe like family members or something like that.
Yes, in June, person Lil Nas X attempted to do the impossible, following up quite literally the biggest song in the world that he'd made completely by accident. He released his sequel Panini and had fans baffled. Why was Lil Nas X using his moment in the spotlight to declare his love for mediocre rectangular sandwiches that you commonly find in Pret A Manger and Starbucks? Maybe Starbucks is where Lil Nas X is going to work when those cowboy checks stop coming, I don't know. Upon closer inspection, it turned out that the song's title Panini was actually a reference to the Cartoon Network's children's show, Chowder. I mean, it makes sense. Many people thought that the reason Old Town Road had been such a hit was its simple lyrics that refer to driving tractors or riding horses. I mean, these basic bars are most enjoyed by very young children, kids just learning to read, or at a stretch, Kodak Black. And soon after the track, the music video for Panini dropped, which I think is best described as Old Town Road in space. But thankfully, the track also got a remix from DaBaby, making it just about bearable, with a fire verse that once again proved DaBaby was truly here to stay. Lots of people praise this as a massive W for Lil Nas X, proving once and for all that he wasn't a one-hit wonder, but I kind of disagree. Old Town Road was truly the biggest run anyone has ever had on the charts, and he had an impossible task here. And although it's a W for Panini to come out of the gate landing landing at number 4 on Billboard. The success of this song was really just the after effects of Old Town Road being such a huge hit. Old Town Road was a novelty record, and in a sense so was Panini, being that it was a novelty to see the Old Town Road guy trying to follow up Old Town Road in space. The only other contender that he had for a follow-up hit was the track Rodeo with Cardi B, which only reached number 22 on the Billboard chart. A track that in my opinion was actually pretty damn good, much better than Panini, if a little similar to Old Town Road. Frankly, Lil Nas X is in kind of a shitty position. I mean, it's basically impossible to follow up Old Town Road. You can top a number 1 hit. After all, Wiz Khalifa was nearly a one-hit wonder with Black and Yellow, but then See You Again with Charlie Puth blew it out the water years later. But Old Town Road has now had the biggest Billboard run ever. He literally can never beat it. And look, if he does, I'll eat my words and admit that he is literally the greatest artist of all time. Yeah, this guy. Unlikely. And yes, I know what you're thinking. Traplaw Ross, you're 0 for 0 on Billboard. The album that you dropped for a joke this year didn't even get 10k streams. Well, I'm just a hater, aren't I? But at least I don't have to wear a cowboy hat to be poppin' and still have my dignity intact.
Who's that pretty motherfucker?
ASAP Rocky. In July, ASAP Rocky was spectacularly arrested in Sweden for scrapping with a couple of haters that were trying to finesse a set of headphones out of it. It was big news all over the world, and even Donald Trump tried to get involved to finesse some support out of the black community.
So I personally don't know ASAP Rocky, but I can tell you that he has tremendous support from the African American community in this country. And when I say African American, I think I can really say from everybody in this country.
This whole charade even included a bizarre moment where it seemed pretty clear to me that ASAP Rocky must have piped down Melania at some point.
Actually, the one who knew about ASAP Rocky was our First Lady. Right?
And Trump eventually made an ASAP Rocky pun on his Twitter account that genuinely convinced me that we were living in a simulation. Fucking Trump lore over here. Ultimately, for a minute, this was the biggest news in hip-hop and a lot of misinformation circulated. People said Rocky was living in squalor and sleeping on a yoga mat. There were reports that people in his cell were smearing feces all over the wall, but on closer inspection it just turned out that it was a shelf of DJ Khaled CDs. In the end, the whole drama played out publicly in the courtroom, with some of the courtroom sketches at least giving ASAP Rocky half a decade of album covers to choose from. And after being held captive in Sweden for a couple of weeks, ASAP Rocky was eventually released, even though he was convicted on a minor charge.
We have some breaking news to bring to you. The rapper ASAP Rocky has been found guilty of assault in Stockholm. The Swedish court says the victim in the case will be awarded damages.
And once again, I did a whole video about Rocky and other rappers getting arrested in Sweden, so do go and watch that if you must. In other news, Chance the Rapper's album The Big Day came out, and despite what the official review said, the true fans were willing to speak the cold hard truth. No one cares about your poxy wedding, mate.
The Big Day is essentially a 22-track torture chamber with 77 minutes of runtime.
But as always, one of the biggest hip-hop stories of the year was of course the XXL Freshman List. Those featured on the list included Dollar Store Jaden Smith doll Comethazine, Tierra Whack, pictured here after a particularly bad stroke caused by listening to Chance the Rapper's album, part-time Louis Vuitton security guard DaBaby, the one rapper probably most deserving of a Lil suffix, Lil Mosey, Ned Flanders' secret love child Roddy Ricch, YBN Corday, more like YBN Borday, boyfriend of the year YK Osiris, Rico Nasty, pictured here after accidentally stepping on a Pikachu, Gunna, the only rapper with a money phone that also sends texts, full-time rapper and part-time roadside worker Megan Thee Stallion, and the only rapper with the cheat code to spawn an RPG, Blueface. But what is a XXL Freshman List without at least complaining about the people that should have been on the list? So the most notable snubs of the 2019 XXL Freshman List included YNW Melly, who wasn't included because he smoked his buddies, NLE Chopper, who apparently blew up too recently to be included, Polo G, I am actually genuinely not sure why he wasn't on the list because he was quite good, Juice WRLD, who admitted that he actually turned down being on the list, Sheck West, who couldn't make it because he was accused of stalking and abusing the singer Justine Skye, Lil Baby, who was arguably too big for the list by the time it went to print, plus the fact that Gunna got on the list was almost a consolation prize, because at this point Lil Baby was already racking up more plaques than a crank fiend on his last tooth. And of course Lil Nas X, who was by far too famous to be included on the list at this point, and also technically at this point is way more of a cowboy than a rapper. But following her inclusion on the list, Megan Thee Stallion dropped the song Hot Girl Summer, making sure that August 2019 truly belonged to the ladies. After the phrase Hot Girl Summer went viral on Twitter in July, Megan set out to capitalize on the phrase that she'd coined in her songs Cash Shit and on the cover of her 2019 mixtape Fever. To support her, she pulled in fading star Nicki Minaj and the master of using symbols to shorten things that would take longer to say, Ty Dolla $ign. And it featured a music video which included probably the most intimidating looking pool party in history.
Rapper Jay-Z has agreed to partner with the National Football League to promote social justice initiatives and expand entertainment options. But many see the move as a betrayal of former San Francisco 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick.
In August, Jay-Z made his latest business finesse by confirming a partnership between his Roc Nation and the NFL. The particulars of the deal said that Roc Nation would now help the NFL advise on selecting artists for major NFL performances such as the Super Bowl. Hey, you know who would be super for this Super Bowl performance? Jay-Z. And you know who would be great for the next Super Bowl? Jay-Z. The one after the Jay-Z. What about the next Jay-Z? However, after the deal was announced, people were immediately pissed because ex-49er Colin Kaepernick was still going unsigned by an NFL team after the season where he infamously kneeled during the national anthem to protest against racial injustice. In the wake of Cap still being left out in the cold by the NFL, many people called Jay-Z a sellout and a hypocrite. Though Jay-Z himself said that he'd spoken to Cap about the deal and that he was viewing his involvement with the NFL as a step forward to attempt to influence change from the inside. But then he started catching more flack for being two-faced after it emerged that Jay-Z had apparently told JD, Jermaine Dupri, not to work with the NFL back in 2018. And it didn't take long for the Baron of Bitterness himself, Dame Dash, to offer his expert analysis that perhaps Jay-Z's unusual behavior might be the result of eating his own dookies.
I mean, everybody knows Jay ain't shit. Like, that, everyone knows that.
Apparently, the deal also included a partnership for Roc Nation to provide a currently undetermined program relating to social justice, likely playing a role in the NFL's recently launched Inspire Change initiative. On the one hand, a lot of people suggested that giving an already rich and powerful black man like Jay-Z yet another opportunity to cash in off the NFL's dime doesn't really address the issue of injustice. Other people pointed out that this can only be a step in the right direction, and giving Jay-Z a platform to influence change and promote social justice from the inside should be worth a try. Hey, hopefully he can do both. Fixing systemic racism in the NFL, making another $1 billion, and finally live out the dream of bringing an NFL team to the Marcy Projects. Go Trappers, baby! Woo! Also in 2019, violent rapper and child Tay K was convicted of murder and sentenced to 55 years in the slammer.
A Tarrant County teenager was convicted of murder this morning for his role in a deadly home invasion robbery. 19-year-old Tamar McIntyre goes by the name Tay K 47 in his online rap videos. He was convicted for his role in the shooting death of 21-year-old Ethan Walker in 2016.
This was the culmination of an epic chain of events, kicked off by a deadly home invasion that he was involved in that left a 21-year-old man named Ethan Walker dead. He famously went on the run while awaiting trial and released the hit song The Race, bragging about his crimes and being a fugitive. He also allegedly beat and robbed one man and killed a videographer whilst on the run. The tale of The Race was a sad story about clout chasing gone all wrong. And once again, only a couple of weeks ago, I did a whole 25-minute breakdown documenting the entire Tay K case. So if you want to see that, go and check it out on my channel, you bitch. Meanwhile, Young Thug dropped his first #1 Billboard charting album, So Much Fun. The album was supported by the long-running successful single The London, named after the luxury hotel in West Hollywood. Fun fact, The London actually used to be the Bel Age Hotel, famous for being the location where Suge Knight balconied Vanilla Ice in exchange for $4 million in royalties. And it's also a place you're likely to find me skulking around the parking lot, filming the final segment of my documentary about the history of hip-hop in LA. The album also featured the single Hot, with a music video seemingly filmed in a house where one of my videos is playing. And also around the time of the album's release, Young Thug also released a music video for the song Surf, which featured him riding quad bikes, or four-wheelers as you Americans like to call them, with a stunning selection of twerking video thoughts, including my own personal thought crushes Hayden and Rochelle of the Blackout Girls, who I hear needed a little bit of extra bike training before the recording of that video.
Tekashi 6ix9ine.
What were you arrested for?
Racketeering charges, violent crimes, shootings, drug distribution.
At some point, did you decide to cooperate with the government?
Yes.
Possibly the biggest story of 2019 was 6ix9ine's decision to work with the feds and testify against the Treyway Bloods in an attempt to secure his freedom. Now, this story is pretty complex and I'm going to cover it in great detail once everything's fully resolved next year. But in September, an audio recording of his in-court testimony hit the internet, bringing many explosive details to the hip-hop zeitgeist. He described his 2018 beating turned kidnapping in great detail, and even dash cam footage and audio of that incident emerged online. DJ Vlad was somewhere rubbing his hands together like Birdman, baby. He also spilled the red beans on Trippie Redd, admitting to the court that he was a blood. But this wasn't a huge surprise considering that only last year they were arguing on Instagram Live about who was the biggest blood.
You're not a real blood. You're not a real blood because you linked up with You're not a real blood.
No, you're not a real blood. No, you're not a real blood. He told the court about how his Treyway goons set up Trippie Redd sucker punching him outside of his hotel. He copped to ordering Treyway member DaBaby to shoot at Chief Keef in Times Square. He detailed the robbery of 2 Rap-A-Lot members in retaliation for an altercation the previous year at South by Southwest. He pointed out gang members who'd appeared in his music videos, and we even got to see juicy footage of Treyway members letting off a gun backstage at the Barclays Center. DJ Vlad had to change his pants after seeing that one. This wasn't a good look for 6ix9ine, and the internet's meme economy reached a new high.
For me, hip hop moment of the year has got to be 6ix9ine and his trial. First off, the memes were phenomenal. Second off, there was so much crazy shit that was released to the public that most people completely overlooked. The footage and audio of 6ix9ine getting kidnapped by his own gang was just released to the public. The FBI tapped a bunch of phone calls between Treyway members saying how they want to set up 6ix9ine and kill him, and that got released to the public. Like, it's literally a Netflix original series just waiting to be made. So yeah, 6ix9ine's trial and all the information that came out of it, hip-hop moment of the year.
But it was also revealed that 6ix9ine intended to turn down witness protection if he eventually gets released, intending to pick up his career where he left it and make a comeback. But it seemed there was one person on the other side of hip-hop making quite the opposite of a comeback, as Nicki Minaj finally decided to hang up her stinky leopard print leotard once and for all. She had an incredible journey to the throne of hip-hop queen, but heavy is the butt that wears the crown. And since Cardi B's arrival on the scene, it seemed like hip-hop only had space for one giant fake-ass having songstress. And on top of that, Nicki was having some trouble maintaining her relevance. Some felt that she was really failing to recapture her previous Billboard success with her recent releases. She'd only recently had an embarrassing L after pulling a DJ Khaled and getting mad salty at Travis Scott after her album came in at number 2 after his. Wonder who's got a fatter ass, Khaled or Nicki? Her 2 2019 singles, Megatron and Tusa, scored Billboard positions 20 and 79 respectively. But in her defense, she was having success appearing as a feature on already popping songs with genuinely good verses, including Megan Thee Stallion's Hot Girl Summer. Some said that this was proof that she was still killing it, others said that this was proof that she was falling off and could only remain relevant by attaching herself to already successful songs and artists. And in addition to that, Nicki Minaj was attracting a lot of negative attention from fans over her questionable relationship moves. After breaking it off with boyfriend of 15 years Safari Samuels to have a clout romp with Meek Mill, pictured here showing us which fingers he had to wash after he was done with her, she ended up dating convicted rapist and killer Kenneth Petty, meaning that once married, her name will literally be Mrs. Petty. You can't make this shit up. I personally feel sorry for Safari Samuels in all this. I mean, imagine spending 15 years trapped in Nicki Minaj's stink box, only to get tossed aside for a man that just spent 15 years in an actual box. She'd previously dated Kenneth Petty as a teenager, but while she went off to have the Billboard charts on lockdown, he went off to have himself on lockdown. And I would call him her childhood sweetheart, but this guy's far from sweet. Because while she's tried to defend him and downplay his past convictions for rape and manslaughter, she hasn't really helped her case for him being a reformed character by spending 2019 running around threatening to sick her killer boyfriend on people that don't like her music like DJ Academics. So a lot of fans and internet trolls truly weren't feeling Nicki Minaj's vibes at this point, and it really felt like in 2019 the tide was turning. And so in September, she shocked, not that many people, by deciding to retire and have her family. And thus, fans of giant-bootied, belligerent female New York rappers were left heartbroken. Where could they possibly get their entertainment from now?
Warm pussy. Warm. Shit feels like a fat bitch pussy. You know, fat bitches got warm, nice pussy too.
Oh yeah, I forgot we have a spare Nicki at home. In other September news, DaBaby dropped his follow-up album Kirk and bagged a very well-deserved #1 album. Though it can't be that hard. I mean, I personally streamed it 1,000 times just out of pure fear that if I didn't, he might shoot me dead. 2019 was also a good year for specky little nerdlingers as Lil Tecca blew up off his infectious hit Ransom. Seemingly out of nowhere, that track ended up bagging the #4 slot on the Billboard chart, proving once and for all it doesn't matter what you look like. The best way to succeed is just be yourself. Oh, and get a beat from Nick Mirror, that seems to help a lot as well. In October, Tyga took a giant W and signed a big deal with Columbia like a young Tony Montana. Come on, Tyga. You remember Tyga? Tyga!
This nigga sitting right here talk about Tyga. The nigga that lost his bitch to Travis Scott.
Oh shit. Holy shit.
The nigga that Travis Scott nutted in the bitch and got her pregnant.
Damn. Oh yeah, what happened with that chick who handed Tiger the giant L last year? Well, in October, Travis Scott took a 10-figure L in losing Kylie Jenner. Really, nothing stings more than becoming Mr. Lose Your Girl at the hands of the newly crowned billionaire of botched butt jobs. Steve Butt Jobs, if you will. Story goes they agreed not to speak publicly about their split, and that they wouldn't squabble over custody of their 1-year-old daughter, Stormy. Initially, reports came out that Travis had actually been cheating on Kylie Jenner, which he categorically denied. But quickly, the internet began to work out the identity of his alleged side chick as model Roheen Carr, aka Young Sweetro. Sure, I mean, she's fine as hell, and yeah, I probably would go one-on-one with Kenneth Petty in the Octagon just to sniff a bus seat she'd recently sat. But let's be real, by comparison, she looks like a measly $1 million store Kylie Jenner. And for the record, she denied the rumors of cheating too. Some people came out the woodwork and said that the real reason for the split was that Kylie was upset that Travis Scott hadn't made a marriage commitment to her. Hey, maybe she was trying to make his broke ass sign a prenup. And after all, they had been rumored to have tied the knot a couple of times. But regardless, after the split, Kylie Petty went for the jugular and was quickly spotted leaving Tiger's studio. But the disrespect would reach a new high when word got out that she'd been casually hooking up with the crown prince of Clouty Arabia, Drizzy Drake. Gosh, she's a bit old for you, isn't she, Drizzy? You'd be going out with Blue Ivy next. But truly, one of the most monumental stories of the year was Kanye's Will He Won't He album drop. All the way back in 2018, Kanye announced that his new album would be called Yandy, and this evolved Yeezus cover art did the rounds for a couple of months. I mean, Kanye must have sinned a lot during the recording of this album, because even though he's a good guy, Gandhi is kind of a step down from Jesus. I personally would have liked to have seen Kanye really have some balls, name his album Yalla, throw a picture of the Prophet Muhammad on the cover, and get that fatwa popping. Now that's how you market an album, and be forced into hiding. But Yandy rumors ran all the way through 2018 and 2019. People said it was going to have 6ix9ine, Extentacion, the Migos. And then he was seen recording in Miami with T Grizzly, Lil Wayne, YNW Melly. And then mysteriously his Sunday service sessions started popping up. As you can see in this footage here with Kanye West at one of the first Sunday services, seemingly pressing the crouch button on his keyboard over and over again. And Kanye's Sunday service sessions did the rounds all through 2019, popping up in fields all over the US like some sort of Yeezy season car boot sale. Apparently during this time, Kanye really begun to find his faith, even bringing in his pastor Adam Tyson to work on his Jesus is King album. Nicki Minaj revealed around mid-2019 that Kanye had truly become a born-again Christian, and eventually Kim revealed the title and track list of Kanye's new gospel album on the same Twitter account that she uses to post gratuitous pics of her nice cans. How Christian of her. But hypocrisy aside, she announced the album's release date September 29th, and when that day finally came,
we're here to spread the gospel. I'm not here for your entertainment.
After a period of radio silence, Jesus is King finally dropped right at the end of October, which meant that November was only about one thing. Is this shit any good? Well, the album seemed to divide hip-hop into two distinctive camps. People who liked Jesus is King, and dirty fucking sinners destined to hell! You will burn in hell! Now, I personally love the album. It's highly ambitious, and I think it deserves respect for the following reasons. It's really hard to make a gospel album that is genuinely sonically interesting. It's really hard to make a clean hip-hop album that still has something to say and isn't conceptually whack on some Vanilla Ice shit. He got the clips back together on a track which allowed No Malice to actually spit a relevant verse for the first time in a decade, and of course finally, the memes about Pusha T having to write a verse that wasn't about cocaine because it's a gospel album really made me laugh. Well, Ye's risky gospel rap concept truly paid off, and in the first week it sold 264,000 copies, landing at #1 on the Billboard chart. And on top of that, it also broke records by landing at the top of several other Billboard charts, including top Christian albums, top gospel albums, top R&B and hip-hop albums, and top rap albums. And I assume it also topped the commemorative YNW Melly serious mental health problem charts. But then again, Kanye wasn't the only rapper that was getting all biblical in November.
Not only have we had the conversation, we have yearly trips to the gynecologist to check her height.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I know that it's 2019, but for some reason T.I. was out here acting like a pastor in 1819, saying that every year he takes his 18-year-old daughter to get her hymen tested to make sure she still has her virginity. This must be a family tradition in the Harris family, as we all know that T.I. himself has been subjected to a few traumatic searches of his own stash box. T.I.'s misguided comments on the Ladies Like Us podcast quickly attracted a lot of hate, and anybody with a shred of respect for women was lining up to take shots at T.I. like they had a trunk full of illegal word guns.
Well, of course, everybody should know this, but having your hymen broken, not broken, that has nothing to do with your virginity. You can have your hymen intact and have had sex, and you can have your hymen broken and still be a virgin. And I think women should be able to control their own bodies. If she decides that she wants to have sex, then she should be able to do that without somebody interfering with her and telling her what she can and can't be doing. The other issue I had was he said he doesn't do this with his sons. right? So it's okay for his sons to do that.
Unfortunately for T.I., it turned out that for the last 5 years, those tests were inconclusive after they'd been carried out by Dr. Aubrey Epstein, MD. But in other news, in what was a landmark month for hip-hop stupidity, the Dumbass of 2019 award found its rightful home as Kodak Black was sentenced to 3 years and 10 months in jail. In May, he was arrested on federal firearm charges before his scheduled appearance at Rolling Loud.
Also now to this, new details about the most recent arrest of rapper Kodak Black. He is now sitting in federal custody. The same weekend, he was supposed to perform in Miami Gardens at Rolling Loud.
This was all in relation to him making a false statement on a government form when purchasing firearms in January. Now, he's a convicted felon, so he shouldn't legally be able to buy a gun. Turns out he put down a false social security number and also lied about having any open indictments. Turns out one of the guns Kodak bought was a $2,000 SIG MPX K9. I'm sorry, but just look at the size of this thing. In case you're interested, I believe his secondary weapon was a Glock 18, and his chosen perk was career martyrdom. Apparently, that machine gun was left at the scene of a shooting with a live round in the chamber and Kodak Black's fingerprints on it. That gun had been fired at 2 homes, one apparently with 3 children in it. It seemed like Kodak had personally gone and shot up the house of an op. And in April, as Kodak was attempting to re-enter the US from Canada, where his convoy was stopped and arrested after authorities found the other gun that he'd bought in January, the Glock, and a bunch of weed. So the feds closed in, and in November, Kodak ended up copping a plea that saw a potentially 96-month sentence reduced down to 46. And to be honest, things ain't looking too good for Lil Kodak. He's still awaiting trial for an open rape case that he caught in North Carolina, and by the sounds of it, he can't even catch a break while he's in the can, as apparently he'd got put in the hole for having a fight with a prison guard that eventually led to him giving that guard the old dick twist.
Twist his dick! Yo, what's good, Trap Lord Ross? Marvellous Beatz here. Looking back at hip-hop in 2019, one of my favorite moments was seeing YBN Cordae being nominated for a Grammy with his album The Lost Boy. Absolutely amazing. He was kind of in the shadows under the other YBN members with Namir and Almighty J in the past, but he's the most talented by far, so I was super excited to see him succeed, be nominated for that Grammy, and that's one of my favorite moments of the year. I appreciate you letting me be in the video, bro. Peace out.
Rapper Juice WRLD is dead after suffering a medical emergency at Chicago's Midway Airport. The rapper, whose real name is Gerard Anthony Higgins, had just gotten off a flight from California this morning when he collapsed. He was rushed to a hospital where he was later pronounced dead. He just turned 21 last week on December 2nd.
Sudden tragedy struck in December, where seemingly out of nowhere, Juice WRLD passed after having a seizure at a Chicago airport. This loss was particularly acute for the hip-hop community, as 2019 had truly been Juice WRLD's year. His second album, Death Race for Love, dropped in March and had been a Billboard #1 hit. Social media was instantly bereft with tributes, as well as stark warnings against drug use, amid reports that his death may have been caused by a drug overdose or withdrawal. And while, as the days passed, unusual details surrounding the circumstances of Juice WRLD's death emerged, including reports that a large amount of drugs and some guns were found on the airplane, as well as speculation as to why Juice WRLD might have taken a fatal dose of drugs, none of that really mattered. Because regardless of the circumstances as to why Juice WRLD passed, the true story here wasn't about what was going on that plane, but it was really about the tragic loss of one of hip-hop's most promising talents, seemingly at the hands of a tough relationship that he'd had with drugs for many years. It was heartbreaking to look back and see that over the course of his career, he'd always been open about not wanting to go out this way. In fact, whilst traveling over to the US for Christmas, I was shocked in the airport to see a cover of XXL magazine with Juice WRLD on the front cover. For a minute I was thinking, how the hell can these guys print magazines so fast, before I realised that this had actually been printed before he'd passed. And I was even more shocked when I bought the magazine and read his interview, which had a huge title, quoting him saying that he didn't want to go out this way. To me, both of these things really drove home just how well Juice WRLD was doing in 2019, but also just how big of a part his drug habit had played in his story up until this point.
When I heard Future, the first song I ever heard by Future was Ain't No Way Around It. The second song I've ever heard by Future is Dirty Sprite, off the first Dirty Sprite mixtape. And that shit had me wanting to sip lean at like 11, 12 years old, bro. It's fucked up.
Yes.
And in situations like these, all we could do is learn from, the mistakes that people make and better yourself and let them live through you.
Right.
All you could do is learn. I hate a motherfucker like, oh, he just died, so we gotta pull up some dumb lean for him. You're gonna end up the same, the same situation. Like, motherfuckers gotta learn from the mistakes, like the fatal mistakes that people make, because who wants to have another casualty?
This loss hit the rap community particularly hard. Juice's friends and peers came out in disbelief. that he could have been taken from us so soon, right at the height of his potential. At this point, 2019 felt like such a huge L for hip-hop, and everything was just falling apart. Not only had we also lost Nipsey, but also in the UK, we'd seen the loss of two promising young rappers, Cadet and Biss of the Harlem Spartans. It's been a hard year, and the scene has lost a lot of talented souls. And honestly, at this point, it's just so hard to muster up any enthusiasm for all of the other hip-hop stories of December. Oh, Nick Cannon tried to make a comeback by dropping some Eminem diss songs. They were shit. Next. Oh, 6ix9ine wrote a letter to the judge begging to have his sentence reduced. That'll probably get some clicks. Oh, Lil Uzi Vert released another lame song with a stupid dance. Whatever. You know what? I haven't got the energy for this anymore. Done. Fuck this shit.